Welcome to the reTIRED podcast. I'm Riley.
And I'm Noah.
We're former professional athletes turned parents and business owners.
We created this podcast to talk about sports, life, and everything in between.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to the reTIRED podcast. In tonight's episode, we are talking about nutrition for athletes. And I'm going to let Riley take the reins. A little bit of background. We both went to school for kinesiology, fitness, wellness. So we have a bit of background in nutrition. Riley more so than me. She actually finished her degree. I did not. Only because I got drafted, right? Not because I was stupid or lazy. A little bit lazy sometimes. Anyways, nutrition and athletes. What is good? What is bad? What is some of the worst you've ever seen without naming names? And we should probably start by saying that we are not nutritionists. We are not doctors. We are just two former professional athletes who like to think that we have a good bit of knowledge in this area.
We don't always practice it, but we have it.
We're fairly healthy eaters. For two parents with two young kids, I feel like you're crunchy. You're a crunchy mom.
That is correct. But today, I will not get into the crunchy nature of my being. We will just discuss basic nutrition.
Okay. What, in your opinion, for a college baseball or softball player, or just a college athlete in general, is the most important thing about their nutrition?
Well, I feel like first we have to give a background about nutrition in general.
Okay.
I can give a quick overview.
Give us the quick overview.
So as far as breaking down what you eat into categories, there's basically two big ones. You have your macronutrients, and then you have your micronutrients, your macros. People call that sometimes, like people who are counting macros or whatever. There's 4 macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, protein, and water. They're called macro because you need them in larger quantities, usually in grams. This is the stuff you're going to see on the back of the nutrition label, and it is what makes up the calories in whatever food item you're eating. So there are subcategories in each one, but we'll get into that in just a second. There are also micronutrients, and those are your vitamins and your minerals. Those are things usually do in smaller quantities, so milligrams or also micrograms are a measure of that. And those are also important, equally important, just different quantities in your body. As far as macros go, for every 1 gram of protein, you get 4 calories. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate, you get 4 calories as well. And then for every 1 gram of fat, you get 9 calories. So that's the reason everyone's always like, watch out for the fat.
That's the reason everyone's fat.
Not really.
If you're wondering, Via Energy has 0 grams of protein.
As one would expect, it is made of fruit.
12 grams of carbs. And I would still love for them to sponsor us. Anyways, continue.
So as an athlete, all of the macros are important. You're really looking at what each macronutrient is designed to do for you and how it's meant to fuel your body. I feel like, I don't know how it is for male athletes, but for female athletes, I feel like there's always this pressure to like have a nice looking body. And so sometimes that involves weight loss, but I feel like as an athlete, that should not be your priority. Your priority is, how can I fuel myself to be the version of myself in the game.
Sometimes you need that chicken Alfredo right before you take the field, you know?
Never, actually. Is that what your pregame meal was?
That was more of a postgame meal. No,
that's like Diarrhea City for you.
Yeah. No, I was looking just for go carbs usually pregame, which would be like a, I don't know, peanut butter honey sandwich or a little banana mixed in there. Something light. Something's light.
So basically, if you're an athlete reading this, we won't really get into reading this, watching this, or listening to this. We probably won't get into micronutrients. That's just that's like basic health and wellness. That's also like, your electrolytes, your salts, your potassium, magnesium, and that kind of stuff.
You need to know about the macros.
Today we're talking about macros.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at like, okay, what do I eat in a normal day to fuel myself for a game that I have at night? Most of the time, earlier in the morning, you're just going to want to have like just normal health foods. So whole foods, things that have protein, fats, and carbs all included.
Yeah.
It's really the closer you get to game time, you kind of want to make sure you're just watching what you're eating as far as macros go. Typically, things that are going to be higher in fats are going to feel like they're bogging you down. So, like, do not recommend eating a hamburger before a game.
Unless you need bogged down. Some of us are...
Unless that's your superstish.
Mental psychopaths who need to feel tired and sludgy and somehow play better that way.
That's just insane. I mean, if that's your vibe, then that's your vibe.
Give me 2 McDoubles and a large fry before I go hit 2 doubles and a large fry. Home run.
You're hilarious.
No, but you will be having to poop by the 3rd inning. And so, I wouldn't advise.
Not advise. I think the most important macro to talk about before games is carbs. We have 2 categories of carbs, or more, but the 2 basic categories are simple and complex. When you think simple carbs, think like sugar that is readily available. So things like fruit has sugar readily available. Almost any kind of like processed or added sugar into any kind of like wrapped food, processed food is going to be a go carb.
Yeah.
And these are things that are important for athletes. They're ready to use within 30 minutes to 2 hours. So think like Gatorade. Gatorade is full of go carbs.
Yeah. You know what I used to like? And I don't know if this falls under that category. I think it might. Those little honey stinger.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Waffle.
All carbs.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
You used to have a ton of those in y'all's dugout, huh?
Oh yeah. That and Rice
best.
Krispies and fruit snacks.
Yeah, Rice Krispies are a good go carb. A little bit.
But you need them.
Yeah.
If you've ever, they call it hitting the wall. So basically your body runs on carbs. It always will. Your muscles run on carbs. Your brain runs on carbs. You can burn calories with fat. It's just a slower process. So if you're like actively doing exercise, like playing a game or lifting weights, you're not going to be able to metabolize the fat quick enough to use it. So carbs are your best friend as an athlete. The timing of it is critical.
Yeah, I would say hitting the wall feels like that light shaky feeling. I get that a lot, where it's like, I always would say like, I feel like my blood pressure is low or something, but it's like, it's just you're running out of your energy storage, the one that you want to use for games and high intensity kind of things.
And that's why Gatorade was invented.
Yeah.
It was invented by, I think, like PhD students or master's students at University of Florida, hence
and that's
Gatorade.
When it was good. Now,
stop.
I wouldn't advise against. I mean,
there's other options.
I'm not roasting Gatorade, but like Gatorade's not a good sports drink.
There's better options for sure.
Better options.
Yeah.
It'll get the job done. But.
Yeah. But pretty much after every hour of exercise you do, you need to be starting to replenish your carbs and your electrolytes. So that means like if you are getting to the field and your warm-up is an hour and a half, an hour into that warm-up, a few sips of Gatorade or Body Armor or whatever you drink.
Go into that in depth because like for a college athlete or a professional athlete, from the time you're at the field to the time it's game time, from the time it's the 5th or 6th inning and you're still needing energy, like that could be the span of 6 hours sometimes. And so it's like, okay, what do I eat before maybe I arrive at the field? It's like my lunch, and then that should fuel me to get me through pregame. But then in between pregame and the BP stuff and then game time, like what am I going to snack on to fuel me for 7 to 9 innings?
There's a lot you can choose from. It really just depends on what you like. Anytime you look on the back of a food item and it says carbohydrates and then it breaks it down into sugars and added sugars are typically going to be your friend. And I'll tell you why. I know that doesn't sound right.
No.
But typically sugars that are inherent to, unless it's like a fruit, something or other, typically carbs that are inherent to like, let's say something like, this is a weird example, but like spaghetti. Or something like a whole grain, like a rice or a quinoa. It's like something that you would eat like in a bowl.
Right.
Those are things that typically have fiber associated with them. And fiber is great for you health-wise, But as an athlete, fiber makes you poop.
Yep.
And you don't want to be pooping in the middle of your game. So things like white sugars. Those are going to be your best friends. Obviously, the quantity is very small relative to like, you don't want to eat an entire pack of fruit snacks. But like every 30, 45 minutes or so, just a couple of fruit snacks.
Yep.
Just to keep we call it muscle glycogen. Carbs are stored in your muscles as glycogen, and that's what you use to burn energy or to create energy to use. So
I used to crush, I became a big fan of bringing packets of fruit snacks into the dugout because 9 innings could sometimes be 3 to 4 hours for us. And so, around that 5th or 6th inning, I just crushed a couple and I felt great. But I'm not going to go and eat a bowl of spaghetti before the game.
Some people would.
Well. But
sandwiches are popular. Like a sandwich
one,
is a popular food before game because the protein is
and I feel like
small.
A lot of people look at something like a Chipotle and be like, yeah, that's good, but that may be good as your lunch for the day.
Maybe, earlier.
But definitely not pre-game. Hey, let me smack this Chipotle.
Typically whole grains, those would fall under the complex carb category, and those take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours to digest and be ready to use. So those just take a little bit longer. Let's say you are it's a Friday night, you play a big tournament all weekend long. You can do what's called carb loading, and that's just where you load up on complex carbs. You totally replenish your muscle glycogen stores. That way, when you're ready to use them the next day, most of the time people that do triathletes are known for carb loading, or marathons known for carb loading. But even if you games all day long, you can carb load Friday night and then just replenish as you go.
That slow release is something that's very important because I feel like it's easy to just quickly restore the go carb, the quick one. But to be loaded for a lot of our all weekend long athletes who are playing Friday through Sunday. And softball, y'all play a lot of games in your tournaments, youth tournaments, and so does baseball, but softball, because of the pitching situation, there's 5 game days.
At least.
5 games a day, and that's the norm. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just
carb load both nights.
Carb load, because y'all are burning so much energy. That's interesting. What about a hydration standpoint? So it's like you said earlier, that is a macronutrient. Would be water, would be one. Say you're going into a 3-day tournament, you're expecting to play 4 to 5 games a day, can't hydrate the day of. Obviously you can, but what does that look like for sustainability over a weekend? And I used to get bad muscle cramps, and I felt like I could drink all the water days in advance that I needed to, but I had to have shots of pickle juice on me at all times. And it was even just one game. Sometimes when I was in college, I played one game, and by the 6th inning, my calves are cramping. I'm like, what is the deal? Typically,
it takes 2 to 3 days to optimize your hydration. And so you just have to be aware of the timing of your games, what the weather's going to be like. Obviously, on hotter, more humid days, you need more water because you're sweating more. You need more electrolytes because you're also sweating those out when you sweat. Electrolytes, the ones we typically talk about, are going to be salt, potassium, and then also magnesium's an important one.
Where can you find where can you find that? Give the people a simple, hey, it's early in the week and I'm going to hydrate, prepare my body for
just water and normal salt intake. You don't have to be sitting in class drinking Gatorades because again, Gatorade has a lot of added sugar to it, which is great if you're in the middle of playing, but when you're sitting at a desk in school, it just makes you want to go bang your head against a wall. So probably not the best situation. So just water and making sure your salt intake is good. Obviously drinking Gatorade and Powerade or whatever sports drink you like at practice is good too. But
I think the salt intake one is important because I do feel like salt is a little superpower for athletes. But obviously it's something that the general would think that's oh, don't have too much salt on your food and stuff like that. It's if you're an athlete and you're burning a lot of calories and expending a lot of energy playing your sport, salt is so helpful for your hydration. And obviously I'm a salt guy. I love salt. I put extra salt on everything. And now that I'm getting older and not an athlete anymore, I probably need to check that and be careful. But
I don't know. When I got my blood test done, I got a blood test with Function Health. My sodium was low. Which is weird because
I feel we salt it up.
Yeah, we salt it up around here.
We're salty.
So,
But
no,
yeah,
salt is responsible in a lot of ways for the muscle contraction stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a balance of potassium and salt, and then also magnesium kind of plays a backseat role. But
Yeah.
if there's imbalances in those two, so those can cause cramps
Yeah.
and other issues like dehydration.
And
So
that's what always surprised me, because it was always like my trainer would give me literal salt packets to immediately drink.
yeah,
Whenever
people say eat a banana too,
Yeah,
because that's lots of potassium.
But I was like, dude, I'm a salt fiend. Like, I literally am salting everything.
You're sweating it out.
I'm assaulting, my food. The dad jokes have been on a roll lately. But no, I think it's important, and it's good to know, because I know, I don't want to make an assumption, but like I would assume that, especially for female athletes who are, like you said earlier, feeling like I've got to watch my figure and it's important to look good and all that. It's like, yes, but your health is what's most important, and you got to know what is okay and what is right depending on my sport and its needs.
Yeah.
From a nutritional standpoint.
I think an important thing to think about as an athlete is basically two categories. Like, it's important to know, I think, and it's not taught in schools as much as it should be, but I think everyone should have a basic knowledge of how to read a nutrition label.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I thought I was pretty healthy growing up. I didn't until I got to college, and it was part of my curriculum to learn that because of our degree. So, but I think as an athlete, you have to think about food in two different ways. One is as fuel, as a resource to help you perform. The other as recovery.
Yeah.
It's like, how can I use food, the things that I'm putting in my body, and we can talk about supplements maybe some other time, to recover. Yeah. So like so far we've just talked about pregame, like carbs and salts and all, like water, that kind of stuff.
So you just finished your long weekend. You burned a lot of energy, a lot of nutritional things, and it's Sunday evening. New week's rolling around. Say you got another tournament coming up that week, or you're a college athlete and you got a game on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the body needs something. What
I would even say
recovery tool?
Better than that would be, instead of waiting till it's over to start replenishing and recovering, do it immediately. Yeah. So there's a little bit of science to show that if you do 30 minutes before your game or your whatever weightlifting practice, a small amount of protein and a small amount of carbs, it helps to replenish your glycogen if it's low at any point. And that protein already ingested helps you to recover once the workout is done. And then after the workout, you ingest a little bit more protein, a little more carbs. So, and you can replace workout with game. Yeah. With whatever.
Well, it's interesting though, because everybody just assumes like workout protein right after, right? I have to replenish. Yeah. But a little like pre-protein.
Pre-protein. Yeah. And that could be like peanut butter crackers. It doesn't have to be anything like, it's like a shake.
Right. Don't think pre-protein means you got to go crush your protein shake before your workout and then another one after. It's just like eat it. Eating.
Peanut butter is a wonder food for athletes.
Yeah, it really is. I used to, when I was in college, like that was my cheap but get the job done kind of supplement, if you will. Yeah. It's like peanut butter and honey sandwiches.
It has just enough.
When I was trying to gain weight, I was always trying to gain weight in college because for me that was tough. And is Yogi ripping toots over there right now? She's snoring and ripping toots in the background. So sorry. But yeah, like I think that's one thing I do want to hit on real quick before we kind of wrap it up is just I know sometimes for some athletes in college, like not everybody's on the full ride with the full meal plan, and depending on how much financial support you have, like it's tough to feel like you can maintain a healthy and balanced nutritional lifestyle with maybe a little bit of a limited kind of financial situation. And so that's something that I was definitely more I was more, what's the word I'm looking for? I was okay, like when it came to how much I could spend on things like that. But I wouldn't say like I could just go splurge on anything and everything I wanted for supplements and food. And
you just have to learn how to do it, because the cheapest food at the store is the stuff that's raw food, like that's raw veggies, raw, like that's the processed packaged. Right. That's the expensive stuff.
But then you don't always feel like as an athlete I have time to.
She is toting.
She's ripping toots. big ones. But you don't always feel like, hey, I have time to go chop my carrots that I just bought from the store and like make a meal. So it is tough trying to find, okay, what can I do somewhat on a budget that is somewhat quick and somewhat healthy and fueling me for the workload that I have. And peanut butter just got me on that topic. But what would you say to somebody who has a middle of the road kind of financial budget from a month to month standpoint, say $250 to $300 a month, and that's kind of your grocery money, which probably is, honestly, that's more high end. I'll say $200 a month on groceries. What are you buying to support yourself from a nutritional standpoint outside of what your sport and your team in college are kind of providing for you? Because a lot of it is helpful.
I would stay out of the middle section of the grocery store.
Yeah, the processed stuff.
Stay out of it. Stay out of the aisles. Only stay in the fresh produce side, the meat side. And you can also find like cheaper cuts of meat. I think meat is probably the most expensive part. And as an athlete, it's like, well, most athletes are eating meat because that's where a lot of your complete proteins are.
Yeah.
But rice and beans are a great option. Those are cheap, relatively. You can buy them in bulk.
Sandwiches,
Except for bread can be expensive.
Yeah.
Just learn how to make your own bread.
Eggs.
Just make your own bread.
Make
eggs right now are very expensive.
Yeah, but
so that could be tougher.
I spent $18 on 2 dozen eggs tonight. $9 a dozen.
Yeah, pretty bad.
But they were organic and large.
True.
But yeah, no, eggs obviously crush those. I was a big, like I already said, peanut butter and honey sandwiches, but that was because I was just trying to pack on weight, and peanut butter is a superpower for all things nutrition, I feel like, for athletes.
Fat, protein. No carbs, though, in that.
But the Wolf brand and chili and bread, like I would literally just eat cans of chili, dip bread, and I don't even want to know what that nutrition label looked like. I never looked at it. I just saw
just a bunch of fat.
I just saw chili, and I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get fat.
Fat is also, we've talked about carbs and protein. We haven't talked about fat yet. And if you have any questions about this, we can go into a lot more depth on nutrition because it's a very important topic. But fat is a friend.
Yeah, it is.
Fat is a friend. You need it. It's there to help dissolve fat-soluble vitamins. It helps to obviously coat your neurons, your myelin sheath, and your neurons. Those are cholesterol, basically.
And for us,
it's important for hormone balance.
High speed, needing to read the game kind of players, like that is actually very important.
What?
Having your myelin sheath coating.
Oh, yeah.
For brain connection and synapses and just like.
And again, I'm not a nutritionist, but I know a lot of people that are like totally in on the whole keto thing. It's like a low carb, whatever. As an athlete, I just don't recommend it. You just need too many carbs. You cannot retrain your body to burn fats. It's the way you burn carbs. It's a completely different metabolic pathway.
And if you found a way to be like vegan or do keto or whatever.
Well, vegan and keto are two completely different things.
But I'm just saying, like, just like a non-traditional kind of nutrition plan and be a high level athlete. I know there's a lot out there, like, more power to you. Good for you. But for a college athlete who's just...
when time is on your side and you're totally involved in something else. Yeah, just moderation. The more you can eat recently alive and or foods with less than 5 ingredients in them, the better off you're going to be. Recently alive. Yeah. I'm talking about animals, I'm talking about vegetables.
Yes. Processed, not good.
No. Just keep it fresh.
So Twinkies are like probably not
Twinkies
the best.
In moderation on cheat night only, I guess. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good intro to nutrition. If you guys like this episode and have more questions about nutrition in depth, we'd be happy to talk about it more. Riley has a lot of information in her head about it. She's very good at it.
Thanks.
I'm more so...
He's a recipient of the goodness.
Know it, but ignore it a lot of the times because I like to savor life.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's a time and a place for... Honestly, it's always important to take care of your nutrition. I mean, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just a parent.
Don't even get me started.
Whether you're just a regular human.
Food is medicine, people.
Life. That is one thing, and we can finish with this, is I'm very lucky to have found somebody who makes me kind of keep an eye on it, or just cooks clean. You cook very clean and healthy meals for our family, and I obviously can't be as active as I would like to be. I probably could if I would sleep more and wake up early and go get it done. But anyways... I can feel a difference. There's a freshness about my just every day that I probably shouldn't have, depending or based on how little I sleep and based on being a parent of two young children. But I would say 1000% has to do with what I'm putting in my body for the most part. I don't always do great. Tomorrow's Sunday. Every Sunday morning, I go and get donuts with
Yes,
Reese.
you do.
It's our little tradition, but everything in moderation. And I mean, your body is everything. Fuel it. Take care of
Don't
it.
be afraid of food.
If you are trying to go and do something at a high level with this game, softball, baseball, or whatever your sport may be, and you're neglecting your nutrition, don't expect to do what you want to do.
No,
Because,
there's no shortcuts. There's a lot of shortcuts in life. There are no shortcuts with nutrition.
and it's not the most highly demanding physically, our sport, but little
Over
things
a long
over time.
time, yeah,
Little
over
things
a long
over time
season.
catch up. So, well, that's a wrap on nutrition for now. We're going to get some sleep. But thanks for tuning in. That is reTIRED Podcast. V8, sponsor us. We'll be back for more. We'll be back with more. Ew, what was that? Good night.